What's going on, guys, and welcome back to another video. So today we are going to discuss the child tax credit payments. We're going to discuss the possibilities of receiving potentially $4,500 for families. Now this is actually pretty big, and the reason why I'm bringing this back and really want to discuss this is because more lawmakers are now coming out and saying that this is needed. This is not something that they want. This is something that is absolutely crucial for our economy and for the American people. And I want to break down who's saying this and why. Okay? So the first thing, all I ask, and do this in every single video, is if you can spend just 2 seconds, go ahead, hit that like button. It really does help out the channel. But here's the thing. Why are lawmakers now discussing the pretty much the rebirth of a child tax credit? Well, it's actually pretty simple. The reason why they're discussing this child tax credit payment now, and this is potentially up to $4,500 per year, is simply because the American people need it, number one, and a lot of families are struggling, especially people with children, but also those that don't have children. The only issue is, how do we get the money into their hands or into their pockets without looking like we just bribed them to vote for us in the upcoming presidential election? That's where things get tricky. Now, I can tell you, Republicans are pushing this child tax credit payment, and it's not necessarily because they want to see people get additional income. They want to see families get an additional $4,200 or $3,600 or $3,000 per year. Okay, that's not why they're pushing it. The reason why Republicans are pushing this child tax credit payment is because of one of the incentives, or one of the outside incentives that it also has. That is, if we attach work requirements to the child tax credit payments, then there's a greater likelihood people that are not working that could benefit from this child tax credit payment, they would go and get a job. Okay, that's not a guarantee, but there's a greater likelihood according to multiple reports and multiple studies. So Republicans are saying, well, if we can increase work participation and the work participation rate, which I think is like 62.8%, I believe, in the last jobs report that came out just a couple days ago, if we can increase the work participation rate, then that's just going to improve the economy even more. More people go back to work. We will receive more in tax revenue. We will, if more people are working, there'll be more money going into Social Security and to Medicare. And so that just solves all our problems, right? Now, with that said, it doesn't mean all Republicans are pushing this. Some are, some aren't, but there's multiple bipartisan bills out there, or pieces of legislation. Not really bills, because they haven't really put everything together, but again, they're starting. Okay, so good news there. Republicans have made it very clear they would like to see the child tax credit payments. Okay, let me rephrase that. They are willing to vote for this kind of the rebirth of the child tax credit payments, but they want something on their end as well. Okay, what they want, and they've been very clear on this, is that the child tax credit, because we can't argue that these child tax credit payments of $250 or $300 per month going to lower income families, children in need, we can't argue that those didn't help. Okay, but where's that money coming from? Or better yet, if we do that for children and lower income families, well, what is there for businesses, or what is there for families that don't have children, right? Well, this is where Republicans say that we need to extend the 2017 Trump tax cuts, okay? Because that was a huge, it just provided so many benefits to millions and millions of families, but also households and businesses. So that's what Republicans are asking for. is they want the child tax credit payments, but at the same time, they want to include it into a bill that also includes the extension of the Trump tax cuts from 2017. Okay? Now, here's one thing I can tell you. Republicans have made it very clear that they will not vote in favor of the child tax credit payments coming back if there are not work requirements, because they say that equates to welfare without work, which they are not standing behind. And some Republicans are actually hoping for a bigger child tax credit payment, something bigger than the $250 or $300. For example, just to give you an example here, Senator Marco Rubio and Senator Mike Lee, and this was, I think, it was in 2021, might have been early part of 2022, but they had proposals that would include a child tax credit payment that would go from $3,500 per child to $4,500 per child if you're under the age of 6. Okay, so 5 to 0. We also know Senator Mitt Romney out of Utah. He initially proposed a bill, I believe it was $3,600 for children 6 to 17 and $4,200 for children, I think, before they were born to age 5. Okay, I believe, right? But he did have a work requirement that you had to actually you had to have an income of $10,000 or more in order to qualify for that. Okay, that's where some Democrats said, well, now we're leaving out certain individuals and certain families that they don't make $10,000. So again, more problems there. Now, one thing I can tell you is that the differences right now are, where's the money coming from? So the differences in the parties is from Republicans and Democrats. Well, where's the money coming from? How do we pay for it? Again, it's a tax credit, right? But if it's a tax credit at the end of the year, that's different than if it's a tax credit and you get it when you monthly installments. That's where some Republicans are saying, well, we can increase the child child tax credit. That's fine, but do we need to do a monthly payment? The monthly payment's the big thing. The monthly payment is what people have actually alluded to, that's what kept them out of poverty. Because again, if we're just increasing the child tax credit at the end of the year and lower income families have to wait 12 months to get it, does that really help them in February, March, April, May, June? No, it doesn't. Part of the problem. Now, I do want to read one other thing, okay? Because there's another lawmaker that has proposed another bill, okay? It's called the PLAY Act. It's a bipartisan bill, but this bill is proposed by Josh Gottheimer. Now, he announced this, it's probably about 2 or 3 weeks. It's probably about 2 weeks ago. He announced this. I think this is interesting. I'm going to bring this up. I want to bring this to your attention because this is something that some people have gotten behind. But it does only benefit certain individuals, certain people. So he proposed bipartisan legislation providing tax credits for families to lower the cost of Little League and youth sports and equipment. Because he said families pay for Little League throughout the United States, a family pays for one person about $883 per year. That's the registration fees and stuff like that. Doesn't include travel, things like that. So that's actually pretty big, $883. Now, what if we could get rid of that $883 cost, that burden on the family, and that's then covered by subsidies, right? Because you're lower income, instead of getting a child tax credit payment at the end of the year, you just don't have to make this $883 payment, let's say in the month of August, right? So it says, the Bipartisan PLAY Act, this allows families to use the child and dependent tax credit for expenses related to youth sports and other physical activities. So obviously it doesn't help those that don't want to do physical activities. Let's say you want to learn to play the piano or the guitar, and you got to pay for lessons, or you got to pay for that. Well, this doesn't include that. And not everybody wants to play sports. I absolutely love sports. I think team sports is incredible for kids. Even as an adult, still love it. But I know some people don't. So, it kind of leaves them out. It also goes on to say it helps parents pay for their children's league registration fees and sports equipment using pre-tax dollars and boosts the maximum contribution of these dollars per household. And it creates a federal grant program to invest in recreational youth sports programs and organizations, expanding opportunities for kids to get involved while helping lower costs for families and parents. So I think this is interesting. Okay. And I want to know your thoughts on this one as well, because right now the biggest thing is, how do we get the money into the hands of the parents, and how can we get that money to help out our youth? So we'll see what happens moving forward. As of right now, there are a lot of discussions happening. So my expectation, again, is because it was today, the 3rd. Today's Sunday, September 3rd. We got Labor Day tomorrow. On the 5th is when the U.S. Senate comes back to Washington. Okay, so that's on Tuesday. And then the following week on Tuesday, that's when the House of Representatives comes back. So I expect we're going to have a lot more updates regarding child tax credit payments, Social Security, really just anything in general. I think we get a lot more updates over the next 2 weeks. So as we get these updates, I promise I'll come back on and I will share all the latest news and updates with you. So again, thank you guys for watching. Consider subscribing, and I'll see you guys on the next one.